Our final thoughts heading into week 1 of the college football season. Want to make sure we get out in front of some of these talking points before they get here. But with Florida, Utah, it sounds like Utah will be without Cam Rising. Kind of thought that might be the case throughout the week. Also, if you were to get Cam Rising, what version of him were you going to get effectiveness-wise? Regardless of that, he will probably not be playing. You're probably getting Bryson Barnes. So the line is moving a little bit here in Vegas in favor of Florida. And if I'm a Florida fan even, I would expect my team to be twice as aggressive as they were going to be already. Because defensively, if you can shake Bryson Barnes' confidence, if you can make him see ghosts, to go to that whole Sam Darnold narrative, you kind of get him mixed up and he starts losing confidence and he's all out of sorts, that will impact the rest of your game. I'm coming out swinging if I'm Florida defensively. On the flip side of that, offensively, I want to put pressure on them to score points. I'm dialing up all the trick plays. I'm taking shots deep. And Florida wants to play game control in this game. I mean, both teams do, to be real with you. But if Florida draws first blood and they get up, let's say 13-0, 10-0, whatever you want to put there, then you can actually start to play game control. Then you can really let Trevor Etienne and Montreal Johnson kind of wear down that Utah defense. So that'll be important. Now for Utah, defensively, we don't have Cam Rising playing quarterback, so we're going to lean on y'all now, all right? You know what the deal is. You're going to have to hold it down here for a couple of quarters for a couple of reasons. One, might take a second for Bryson Barnes to get comfortable. Now, he could go out there and just start slinging it and look like an absolute pro, and that would be a great way to live, but conventional wisdom would tell you, hey, big spot, first game of the year. You are the starting quarterback. We might need to ease you in just a little bit. Okay, that's fine. Defense, hold it down. Because what I just said with Florida, with them coming out swinging, you might need to eat a few punches. You might need to get in the red zone and hold them to 3 instead of 7. Like, that might be the world you have to live in. If you can get it to the fourth quarter, I think that's the way that Utah would want to live, because then Jaquindon Jackson can start to wear down, and that physical identity of Utah and the experience of Utah can start to show itself a little bit more. So that's the key thing for Utah. Get it to the fourth quarter. Defense, eat some punches early. They're going to come out swinging. Hang in there, all right? So this is going to be a phenomenal game. I cannot wait to watch this one. Going to be an absolute movie of a game. Big week for the quarterbacks. Big week for the quarterback battles, I should say, all across the country, specifically at Alabama and Ohio State. Now, at the time of us being live, there is no depth chart for who's going to take that first snap at Alabama. Ohio State's already said, hey, Kyle McCord's going to be the starter, quote unquote. Devin Brown's also going to play. The reality is this is a fluid situation at both schools. Okay, there's no decision made definitively at Ohio State. Definitely no definitive decision at Alabama. And so the eye test here is going to be very important. And the eye test, it's tricky because you can't necessarily quantify it in the box score, but you just know it when you see it. Sometimes the box score tells us a story as a whole too, but you can kind of tell, okay, who gives the offense the most juice? Like last year is a great example at Michigan. J.J. McCarthy, Cade McNamara. At the end of that 3-game sample size, you were like, yeah, J.J. McCarthy is clearly the guy. But Cade McNamara won a Big Ten title for him and all that, and that was why I was truthfully in the Cade McNamara camp, because of the experience he had there, because he was the guy, because he led you to all those great things. But when you watched J.J. McCarthy and what he brought to the offense, you were like, yeah, men lie, women lie, tape don't lie. And the tape wasn't lying there. What does the tape say, though, about Alabama and about Ohio State in these spots for the quarterbacks? For Alabama, what I'm watching in terms of who gives the offense the most juice is different than what you're watching at Ohio State. Because for Alabama, it truly is just substance over flash. That's the way it is at Bama. There's no exception this year. The offensive philosophy, we've talked about it a few times here, they are going to go Python mode on you. They want to squeeze the life out of you defensively, and then the offense apply pressure, and the offense finish the deal right there. So that's offensive line play, making you say uncle, is the whole approach there. So for the quarterback, we need you to make all the throws. Like, don't limit us in the pass game. Be able to make the deep shot to Malik Benson and Isaiah Bond and all that. We need you to still have that gear available. But potentially as important, don't give the ball to the other team. Do not mess up the good thing we got going here. We're playing a low margin for error kind of football game. Put us in position to succeed. Make the throws. Don't be the governor, but do be kind of the field general for us. Is that Jalen Milroe? Is that Ty Simpson? A lot of people in Tuscaloosa calling for Dylan Lonergan. You love to see it. Probably not this year. Tyler Buckner, he transferred from Notre Dame. He's familiar in the system. The eye test will tell us, okay, who gives the offense, again, the most juice, but even more so, who leads the most scoring drives is really what I'm watching for. And are you the reason why we're scoring? Are you the guy that's extending the play on 3rd and 6 and finding a way to get that first down with your legs, or finding your check down when the blitz comes at you and we find a way to get there? Like, that's what I'm really watching for. Are you the reason why we score touchdowns on drives? Doesn't have to have 4 touchdown passes. Doesn't have to have 2 touchdowns rushing. Are you the reason why we score touchdowns? Big thing to watch at Alabama. Now at Ohio State, a little bit of a different eye test, right? Because we know what that offense is supposed to look like. Against Indiana, at Indiana, you'll get a good road test, quote unquote. I mean, you'll be on the road. I mean, the line, I think, is somewhere close to 29 points, so you're favored. But my big question is, do we get to go just Jason Aldean mode? We're doing the show from Nashville. We got a little bit of country music influence just by osmosis into the studio. And there's a great song by Jason Aldean. I think it's called The Only Way I Know. And the chorus says, full throttle, wide open. That is how Ohio State wants to play football. That is how this Ohio State offensive system is supposed to work. It's a Ferrari. We know you got Mayan Williams. You know you got Travion Henderson. Marvin Harrison Jr., I talked about Brock Bowers being the alien that the government hasn't told us about. Marvin Harrison Jr. is in that exact same category. There's no shot that dude is from planet Earth. That's how good he is on the outside. So we got 2 5-star quarterbacks who allows us to really open it up and maximize on all that talent, maximize on the potential of what this offense can be. Going back to what I said at the top of this segment, we've seen what the Ohio State offense can be with these skill players. We've seen how it's supposed to look with C.J. Stroud running the show. I'm not asking Devin Brown or Kyle McCord to be C.J. Stroud. I'm just asking you to steer this Ferrari and let us go 100 miles an hour like we want to offensively. That's crucial because Ohio State, they're built to win a national title. They made the right add through the portal on defense. They've got freakish players at the skill position. They've got a 5-star quarterback, whichever one they want to pick. They're built to win a national title. Who's going to give them the best chance to do that? Whoever allows them to open it up, go pedal to the metal, and capitalize on what they have offensively. So keep an eye out for that. Now, North Carolina, South Carolina is in Charlotte. College game day is going to be there. That will be phenomenal. I can't wait for that. But I have something I want to make sure we get out in the open here as it pertains to this game. I picked South Carolina to win the football game. I'm not backing down from that pick. I believe North Carolina is still favored. I want to make sure we say this. Even if the path is a little bit more narrow in terms of ways North Carolina could win this football game, in my opinion, Drake May is 1,000,000% capable of walking out there and just winning that football game on his own. We talk about who's not playing for North Carolina at the wide receiver position. We talk about what they don't have on the back end. We talk about what they don't have on defense. Drake May is a special player. He may just decide that he's him on Saturday, and that might be all she wrote. I love Coach Beamer. I love Spencer Rattler. I love what they got going over there. But that just might be the great equalizer. That might just be the ace up the sleeve for Mac Brown and company is Drake May. So we're picking South Carolina, but I want to make sure we get it out there. Drake May is good enough to win this football game all on his own. Now, on the other side of things, though, for South Carolina, there's been so much made about Spencer Rattler, and we'll talk about him a little bit later in this live show because one of y'all asked a question or had a headline, rather, about him. But I think we see a relatively clean game from him. The reason why I say that, this offense, from what we're hearing out of Gamecock Central, the South Carolina on-3 site, they do great work over there, do Wes Mitchell and the boys. It sounds like this approach offensively is going to be much more streamlined under Dow Loggins than what they had under Marcus Satterfield. And I say that not to take a shot at Marcus Satterfield, but just to, I think, give kudos to what Dow Loggins is doing. There was a conversation last year that maybe South Carolina had too many things on their plate as an offense. Like when you try to do too many things well, you end up just doing some of them good. And when you do some of them good, that doesn't equate to what you want to get on a Saturday afternoon. Because to win football games in the SEC, it takes great. And we saw a lot of great at the end of the year from South Carolina. But with Dow Loggins running the show now, it sounds like they've kind of shrunk the menu. What do we do well? Spencer Rattler, what do you like? We're going to give you some control here in the offense. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that really well. Do simple things extremely effectively. That's the approach now for South Carolina. So keep an eye on that. I think he throws maybe one interception. It is week 1 after all. But I think as a whole, we're going to see Spencer Rattler be much improved this coming season. Now, the game of the weekend, the long weekend rather, Florida State, LSU in Orlando. We all know what happened last year in New Orleans. It came down to the final play, even feels like the wrong word because it was an untimed down, but the final snap of the football, Florida State blocks the extra point after LSU scores to end regulation. I mean, if you're watching at home, the emotions were probably all over the place. This game means more to LSU. And I don't say that to knock either school. I just mean when you look at the climb for both these teams, either one could drop this game and find a way to accomplish all their goals and still win their conference and still get to the college football playoff. But the climb for LSU, should they lose this one, you're looking up that mountain saying we still got to play Bama. Holy smokes. We still got to play the rest of our SEC schedule. We still got Texas A&M. We still got, I mean, like, you just go down. We still got Ole Miss. Like, you don't love the trajectory and how much more steep that mountain becomes if you drop the first game of the season. Now, Florida State, that's not to take anything away from them. And I think Florida State, they don't want to drop this game, right? Because then you lose your mulligan as well, but you still have a little bit of a more manageable course. Yes, you play Clemson. Yes, you play whoever you would end up getting there in the ACC title game. I think a lot of people believe that would be Clemson. But for LSU, make no mistake, the stakes are just a touch higher for the good people in Baton Rouge. Now, for Florida State, though, I want to get this out there before we get rolling. I think this is the game where the entire world gets introduced to Keon Coleman. Because he was a big name in Big Ten country. He was the best player on Michigan State's roster a season ago, was going to be the guy, ends up hitting the portal, ends up going to Tallahassee. They're so glad they have him. But I think on Sunday night, even though I think LSU is going to have a good game plan in place, there is nobody on that roster in the secondary, from what I'm looking at, that can hang with Keon Coleman one-on-one. And if I'm Matt House, I know that. I'm saying, okay, we got to get home then. We got to go get after Jordan Travis and try and speed up that shot clock for him. Well, when you speed up the shot clock, when you blitz some guys, what happens is you have less numbers on the back end typically, so you have more one-on-one coverage. And so Keon Coleman in one-on-one, I mean, that's his ball, is what I want to make sure we say. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. If you watch his highlights when he was at Michigan State, he's just playing above the rim like it's his job. Keon Coleman is going to get his. Regardless of who you think winning the game, I think Keon Coleman has a big-time night in Orlando on Sunday night. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch. But, man, week one is here. I've said it all week long. The time for talking is way behind us. Week one is absolutely here, and I cannot wait. Cannot wait. So those are our final thoughts. Let's play some ball, y'all. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.